What's going on, ladies and gentlemen of the nation? Your boy Sly here, once again popping out some fresh videos for you guys. And first off, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody out there who watched and commented on my recent video I uploaded yesterday, my little channel update. It was awesome to see you guys back here taking a peek, even after a few month hiatus, so that was pretty awesome. But in this video, I want to kind of just put my thoughts together and out there on how Bungie can get back its gamer base and kind of fix the problems it's currently facing. You know, it's kind of odd. For being a YouTuber, I really don't post on Reddit, hardly ever. And the only YouTube vids I watch are some of my followers who have channels of their own, like Tech Ranger or Sin Sticks. But, man, have things changed since I've been gone. Some YouTubers I know through Planet Destiny, I mean, they've moved off covering Destiny completely. Even some of the originals like Holtzman, they're shying away from it. So, Bungie says it reads over Reddit and watches YouTube videos. So, instead of criticizing what it lacks, I wanted to put out a video on ways that I think Bungo can improve on things and approach them going forward. Now, I know my vids have been seen by devs before, so let's see if they can reach them once again. So let's start off by doing this. If you guys had to comment down below on one thing that you think is the biggest downfall of Destiny 2, what would it be? And even though D2 itself would be a viable answer, you can't use that for this situation. Now, regardless of what's going on in D2, the base game of it is here to stay, no matter what we think. It's Destiny now, and all the profiles, the worlds, multiplayer, server space, all that code is for the time being what we have to work with. So think of one thing that they could do to drastically make Destiny better. Well, that usually depends on what type of player you are. Are you a Crucible Ninja, a seasoned raider, or just a dude along for the ride on the trail of whatever? Like I said in my last video, Bungie's biggest problem is time. They are always behind, and not in the typical, development sense that they could keep working on a game to improve it kind of, time. To me, this type of behind is like the cutting corners to get shit done kind of behind. Destiny 1, like the original Destiny, was a completely different game than what we were shipped and given for almost 5 years ago now. What ended up being released was a mishmash of different scenes made for the old game and pasted in between hastily constructed new ones with different key points. For instance, the Darkness, the Stranger, the World's Grave, all of these things had a purpose in the original story. For example, do you remember in Vanilla Destiny when the Stranger approached the Guardian? She kept talking to someone over the comms. Well, originally that someone was Osiris. If you remember Osiris calling Sagira Little Light at the end of the DLC, well, that was Bungie paying a little homage to that. Rasputin, who is now a Warmind, was an actual person that you might recognize from this picture. Well, he is now the Gunsmith, recycled over. Well, the Gunsmith, that's a rumor, but point is, the proof is everywhere. I used to glitch into all sorts of places back in Destiny 1, and they were going to be used for the original story, but ended up being scrapped and of course reused in DLCs. So Destiny 1 was scrapped and reworked to what, it kind of is today. So they had mere months before launch to basically rework an entire game. Then came the DLCs that were extremely short and buggy, and then nothing for like a year. Bungie is constantly behind, and like I've said before, the reuse of armor, weapons, areas, and enemies, well, that's plenty proof of that. Now, here in Destiny 2, which had been in production while the live team took over Destiny 1, which was well over a year's time. At that time, the original team was booted off the project, and from my understanding, that's when Luke Smith took control of the project and became the lead. Hot off a successful launch of the Taken King, but still, 2 years to make a fully fledged MMORPG, that is just simply not enough time. So once again, scrapping a project a year in the making to remake it into Luke Smith's Destiny 2, which is what we have now. They are, once again, doing the same thing they did in D1. Now, I'm no game developer, guys, but I have toured a few smaller studios, and I chat with game devs every now and again. And one thing you can count on in like game development is that things freaking change all the time, even weeks before launch. Every game has things change right at the last possible moment, but not the entire game like we've seen twice here. Now, in my opinion, what I think Destiny and Bungie truly needs to do is to first go ahead, release this next DLC, which I'm sure is probably a playable release already. They're just doing like the polishing and bug squishing phase. But after this release, just get all the development leads, the writing team, and hash out what in the sweet shit is going on with the story, and then take a year or even 2 years and then do it right. Bungie always has teams that are on pre-development, post-development. They got the live team taking care of the game. They got the raid people over there, the writing. So instead of dividing all of these resources, trying to do all this stuff at once, just let the game go as it is now. get things together and bring on the entire company together and make one big release that is just awesome. Take the time, get things together, and make it great. Now, this will no doubt piss a ton of people off, but I really think Destiny needs this kind of attention. If not, and if Anthem turns out to be a seriously good game like I hope it will be, there will be hundreds of thousands of MMO-loving console players out there just looking for an excuse to have a new home. I think that if Bungie gets the entire studio in sync with a story that is good and one that's created well into the future, not lore that's made up and added on by every DLC by the seat of their pants, a real story with a real ending, and then just sit down and make something great. Now, I know they have better ambitions to just cut away our subclasses, our weapons, throw in smaller raids, and then simply call it a day. I mean, I really don't believe that's what they want to do. In the short term, taking a year or two to develop a game is going to make tons of people really angry. But if Bungie came out with something amazing, new, cohesive, I don't think anyone would ever regret those past 2 years. I know I definitely wouldn't. So what about next? What about the short term? Again, feel free to comment your own ideas on this, but there are some simple things that could go a very long way. Now, first and foremost, bring Destiny's soul back. Just that thing it used to have. Most veteran players in Destiny 1 will pretty much tell you the same thing. There was just something about Destiny in D1 that made you come back to it every single day. They can't describe it. They don't know what it is. The je ne sais quoi, I guess you could call it. And you were happy to do so. You were happy to go play Destiny. It had this just certain something to it. Like I can't explain it. No one else can either. Now D2 lacks this. As it stands right now, Destiny 2 feels like a cut-down, noobified version of Destiny 1, only here to lure in new players and make balancing for the devs easier. I mean, we'll get to that, but how do you bring back the soul of a game? I mean, what is it? How do you bring back the soul? Well, that's kind of a hard question, and there's a lot of things that go into this, but the first step is to make you feel rewarded. This whole Gjallarhorn for everyone approach, in my opinion, is not the way to go, guys. Exotics and the grind for them is what brought me back on day after day. Now, I was fortunate enough to get the Gjallarhorn pretty early in Destiny 1, but I couldn't get the Icebreaker to save my effing life. It wasn't until Xur sold it that I finally had it. I can remember just how excited I was about it too. Now, I can also remember my clanmates flipping out multiple times because the last word just dropped for them, or the Crux of Crota finally dropped after months of trying. It wasn't even a good gun, but it was so rare that it was worth it. And even though it took forever, everyone in my clan eventually did get a Necrochasm. This is what Destiny is missing, guys. Exotics are absolutely everywhere, and they are absolutely meaningless. 3 of coins killed exotics. Every time that exotic sound popped up from a raid back in the day or a boss fight, your heart would just instantly start to race because you hear that sound. Once you had what you wanted, it made all those raids completely worth it. All that time you spent, all those crappy rewards that you had beforehand, when you finally got what you wanted, it was absolutely worth it. Now, on the other hand, I can see that people don't have time to do raids every night, or their girlfriends are about to pack up and leave because of the amount of hours spent playing. That's not really a Destiny problem, that's just gaming in general. But I really do miss those days. Even if it was a crappy exotic, it was still an exotic and hard to get. Even those who didn't have an Icebreaker or Gjallarhorn at the time, they did have just about everything else while I was still missing 2 or 3 of them. In the end, it all turned out to be even. Patience is definitely rewarded. It's just that, when a super powerful weapon like Gjallarhorn comes out, they could have all the other exotics and not Gjallarhorn, and they still feel like they don't have anything. Even though in reality, they have everything. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. Alright, Guardian, so our next step to bring Destiny back to its former glory, we need secrets, guides, and lots of them. The Outbreak Prime quest, that was a little much, but it was still awesome. Black Spindle, Outbreak Prime, the D1 Linear Fusion, which I can't remember the name of. Having to find these secret activities triggered something inside the community, like this huge rush of players come in, and they will stay up for days trying to solve it. Like, on Reddit, YouTube, on freaking Twitter, Discord, they are just chatting away, trying to crank this thing out as a community. And it's kind of crazy. You go from, a slow week to just all of a sudden Destiny now is the hot thing. It's trending on Twitter. It's trending on Twitch. It's the top thing everywhere. And it's just funny how one little secret, one new thing discovered just can transform a game in literally seconds. I think that is so awesome and why I really love secrets. Secrets in Raid, secret chests, puzzles, hidden doorways. D2 lacks this type of excitement. And if you could bring back the rarity of exotics mixed in with these secrets, it makes it that much more exciting. Now, I know some recent tweets have told us about secrets will be returning, but will this actually be planned out secrets, or will it just be some thrown together stuff like the chest in the lighthouse? Because getting a legendary engram isn't the best ending to finding out a secret quest or a secret location. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Now, while we're on weapons, these plain raid items need to GTFO pronto. What's the point of even having raid armor or raid weapons if they don't actually do anything new? Just give it to us as an ornament and we can put it on some crusty Vanguard armor. Besides, looks and proof that you've been there, they are pretty much useless. I mean, sure, there are some gems in there by way of weapon itself and how they perform, but they're missing the point here. Again, there used to be excitement when you completed your set of raid armor or you found the next OP raid weapon. Why? Because it will make you that much more powerful for when the hard mode comes out. That's the point of raid weapon and raid armor. So just imagine this, guys. Imagine how awesome it would have been to have, say, I don't know, a chest piece that increased your armor or gave you some, damage resistance to bathers while standing on a plate during bathers, or gauntlets that give you extra reload speed while in the Force of Will buff. So we know during the flag challenge or while you're on Callus, you could reload faster. How awesome would those things be, right? And how great would they have been during your first prestige run through? By taking away these perks, you are stripping yet again excitement and purpose to these things. Now, once the armor set's complete, you have the weapons to get and experiment with those. But if they don't help you at all in the raid, then why even bother? They're just more space. Black Hammer, perfect example of that. It was amazing, and people who never raided before were getting into the raid just for that weapon because of its perks. Imagine, for instance, a sniper rifle that would refill the magazine after 3 critical hits on Callus, or an auto rifle that had the chance to stun Scion so they wouldn't throw those boopy crap at you. I mean, how sweet would that be, right? Those would be worth it and something to try to grind for. The perks can be endless here, and I realize that there might be some balancing issues, but such a small thing makes a massive difference. And while we're on secrets, hidden collectibles like dead ghosts. I used to spend hours and hours climbing up cliffs and rooftops looking for these dead damn ghosts. Every new DLC, that was like priority number 1. Find these bastards, ASAP. Now, Bungie did say that the lore is now in the game, but, I mean, is it really? I know you can scan some items here or there, and the adventures will sometimes tell you some lore, but most of the time it's lost because you're fighting and not paying attention to the ghost. And besides, there are still tons of things you could post in lore cards, but it doesn't even have to be dead ghosts and Grimoire. It could be like a Guardian helmet, and each one would show you a small video of a pieced together clip, giving you a kind of, in a nutshell, approach to who this person was and what they did and how they died. I think that would be pretty sweet. And finally, guys, bring back a lengthy endgame. Now, I do believe that D2's story was decent, and the base game of Destiny 2 is an overall improvement from D1. Level design, graphics, movements, destinations, the size of them, ships, sparrows. Now, all of these improved for the better. Still not convinced on shaders, but however, it's what you want to do with these that counts. Destiny always had story problems, right? But they had an endgame that was worth it. It kept people playing. Everyone wanted more lore, more story. We wanted to see what was inside the universe of the city. We wanted to go down into the city. We wanted everything to do with Destiny. We wanted to soak it all in. But I didn't think all of that would come at a cost of removing the endgame. Like, MMO and RPGs are grindy games by nature, and people know this when they get wound up into them. However, it's the art of making the grind worthwhile and having it masked enough so you don't feel like you're grinding. Even though the days of, clearing my entire Sunday so I could do helium and spirit bloom runs for my upgrades are over, keeping players involved after the story is gone, that's a hallmark of an MMO, and actually the reason why I believe most of us play these type of games to begin with. The endgame signals the harder challenges, the cooler gear, the bigger enemies, etc. Destiny 2 had a small to medium-sized raid with just one real boss fight. No secrets, no continuation, that was it. Bring back hard-to-finish quests, an insanely long list to complete. By the end of the D1, they were doing well with those. In the Siva days, that was full of quests. That was like an awesome time to play. And the absolute last thing that would make the endgame that much better is to bring back snipers and a heavy at the same time. I really think if Bungie did something like No Land Beyond, making an exotic sniper that can be equipped in your energy slot, or hell, even an energy weapon sniper that you can only use in PvE, that would be perfectly fine. Unless something changes, Bungie will constantly be having to use buffs as a way for us to complete raids or harder activities. Since we now lack firepower and heavy weapons have less ammo and are weaker than they were before, we're mostly left with just 2 primaries to try to do damage with. And to me, that's just not fun. I mean, tickling a 50-foot giant Vex with my SMG just kind of makes me feel dumb. It kind of curls my stomach, and it takes freaking forever. It ends up zapping the fun right out of it. Making you feel powerful, that's a goal of just about every game. And while I like double primaries in Crucible, definitely not a fan of them in PvE. I miss being able to scope in on a boss while all hell is breaking loose around you, trying to land all the crits so you don't have to reload. I mean, it becomes a challenge and a nice change of pace than the tink 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 of my scout rifle. Alright guys, so while this video ended up being like 10 times longer than I thought it was going to be, this is what D2 is currently lacking and what I think could be done to get things back on track in the short term. Now, of course, there are tons of quality of life changes and, other stuff that needs to happen, but these major things need to be sorted first. And if they could start on that in the next DLC and the next couple updates, I believe we can get back on the path to making this game great. Like I said, Destiny 2 has lost that Destiny soul to it. And when you add the whole money grab thing, it just leaves a sour note. The current DLC, not the raid or the story, those are fine. And I like that you had to grind to get the weapons. But what I didn't like is that they left you with the same adventures over and over and over. And the Infinite Forest was a complete waste of space. I really don't get the entryway here. And they're just basically in the way. You're just trying to run through it as fast as possible. Nobody really tries to stop and fight this unless you have to open a gate. But again, no secrets added, no ending quests, nothing to try and look for. That's it. You beat it, it's done. Now the raid, while it was amazingly short, the boss fight was pretty awesome. And the level design, again, on point. Having a small raid like this was more than we had in D1 during the first DLC after it launched, so while it could really stand to use just one more boss fight, like a gatekeeper type of boss, I wasn't disappointed by the raid. I thought it was fine. But that is about it, guys. Just my thoughts on what I think Bungie needs to do in the long run, and what they need to bring back to Destiny 2. Now, D2 is here to stay, and it can only get better, but again, I've been saying that for almost 5 years now, and I'm still saying the same thing. Hopefully, this next DLC will show improvement. Either way, I really do think Bungie needs to really take a step back, gather themselves up, and bunker down for a year or two, and just put out something they are truly proud of. Go back and be the company who broke boundaries in the FPS category all those years ago. There is massive talent within Bungie, and if they're given the time, I know they could create something epic. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, that is enough for me, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and like I said, comment down below on what you think needs to be addressed first. Like I said before, Destiny will always be my game, but there comes a point in time where lying to yourself no longer works. I snapped out of it during the dawning, so let's hope we can get back to the Destiny that brought us all here to begin with. Take care, y'all, and as usual, feel free to follow me on Twitter or Facebook, Sly Nation, Sly Nation Gaming. Today's my birthday, so feel free to email me those checks, 6 figures only, please. Later, peeps. Keep those eyes open for more videos coming out of Sly Nation in the very near future. But until then, this is your dude Sly. I'll catch you guys next time.
Let's go.